Yeah, there's three if you want to go ahead and start. Oh,
I was just going to give it a couple minutes here. I'm still waiting
okay.
for Mrs. Hester to log in. She'll be our presenter for today.
Okay.
All right, I'm going to go ahead. We're going to go ahead and get started here. If Mrs. Hester logs in here, I'll give her the floor. Um, but I appreciate everyone showing up for our January Reach Me. I know it's been a while since we've had a meeting due to holidays, inclement weather, and God knows what else. So it's been kind of a ride for everyone here. Um, Before we get started with our present speaker, again, once she logs in, of course, and if she doesn't, I can kind of inform you guys as to what her program is about, at least give you the preliminary information. There's a couple of things I wanted to touch on that's really important here at the regional jail and for reentry in general. So I've been working really hard on trying to build community supports directly with other facets of the criminal justice system. And as some of you guys know, uh, the Wheeling Police Department actually has a peer specialist program and a crisis intervention training program that they're trying to expand throughout the Northern Panhandle. And Marshall County has just recently adopted a similar program. Marshall PD also has a peer specialist, and I've had the opportunity to meet their peer specialist as well as the Wheeling peer specialist. So the idea behind that is should an officer make an arrest or respond to an overdose or something along those lines, that there will be peer specialists that can, respond, or social workers or something along those lines, and they can try to refer that person to treatment instead. So if there's like a bed available at, say, a shelter or an outpatient clinic or a crisis center, they can defer that individual to treatment as opposed to incarceration if it's appropriate. And should beds not be available or if it's not appropriate, those peer coaches can reach out to me or to the courts directly and make it clear that they are able and willing to try to help those individuals seek treatment or get care as an on needed basis. Um, so the Port Authority, that'd be the Panhandle Opioid Response Team. I've spoken with their head peer as well as their Marshall County peer, and in the last couple of weeks, I've already gotten several referrals from them, and it's worked swimmingly. This is what I've been wanting for the better part of 3 or 4 years now. So to give you an idea of how it happened, we I received an email from Miss Nine, who's the peer for Marshall, said, "Hey, I have 3 people that were arrested, interested in treatment. I spoke with them, and I'm working with the courts to help them get into treatment. What can we do?" And I said, "Well, I know these 3 individuals. I got one on the docket for Friday. He's a misdemeanor inmate, so he's going to be my priority because he's the one likely to get out the quickest. Then the other 2, I will speak with the following week because they're in a pretrial felony phase, so they haven't entered prelim yet, so it's going to be a little while. But because I was notified and because I already know they have a peer, they're already connected. We already have half the battle done. Now it's just a matter of finding them a rehab or an outpatient clinic, whatever's appropriate. And then those peers can reach out to their attorneys, to the court systems, and advocate on that behalf. It's still a pretty new program, still working out some kinks, but my game plan is in the following months to have the people who work most directly with these programs present in these meetings. So I'm hoping that we can try to drum up some support and get a pretty large turnout for our February, March, and April meetings. I kind of figured with this meeting, the first one we've had in a while, and given the weather what it is, I kind of figured we'd have something of a tepid turnout. But actually, we have a decent amount of people here today. That's good. But I really want to get the word out on these programs because I really do fervently believe this is the way. Um, as painful as it is to admit, people who suffer from addiction are very likely to get in contact with the law at some point, and they're likely to go to jail, and they're likely to stay there and not get help because there isn't very many people in the jail system that can reach them. With having the police department have their own peer specialist program, as well as crisis intervention, which is also another thing entirely. But I also want to talk about that briefly. Um, these are going to make it more likely that people such as myself are being notified, that the inmates are getting treatment that they need, and that the courts are going to be more amenable to helping them get that treatment because they're going to have professional peers that can advocate for them or help give them a ride or help set up whatever it is we need to do. Likewise, at Northern Regional Jail, our SOAR grant has been renewed with Northwood. So that's the good news. Bad news is Northwood's still in the process of hiring a new peer coach. So I'm hoping they get a new peer very soon. But I do have a peer specialist that represents our region, and that program's also expanded. So you guys might know from last year, Mickey Bator was my peer specialist for this region. He had to represent over 4 jails here in the northern half of the state, which if you know where some of these jails are located, some are well out the way, that's just an insane caseload. It's just not feasible. They have now hired more peer specialists and more peer coaches. So now the peer representative for my region, which is the northern region, his name is Mark Childers, and he represents North Central Regional Jail and Northern Regional Jail. That is a much more sustainable caseload. And I've been able to have him come here and speak with inmates directly, and he helps me get them to treatment, uh, get them to sober living, whatever it is we need to do. So we're really building some really effective connections with our programs and our peer specialists, not just the ones that are funded through our SOAR grant here in the jail system, but at least here, as far as I'm concerned, here in Northern, I can't speak for the other jails, but in this region, well, we're building some pretty major bridges. And I'm hoping to kind of bring that here to these Reach Council meetings here. So if people have questions, they can ask them. But I also want our community supports to know who these peers are, and I want the peers to know who you guys are too. That way, if we're working with a client and they manage to make it into the jail system, or they slip through the cracks in some other fashion, we have peer coaches, we have boots on ground that we're going to know where they're at or know who to contact to find where they're at, and we can get them back into treatment and get them reintegrated as opposed to just kind of let them slip out. Um, so before I talk about our speaker, which I don't think she's logged in just yet, so I'm just going to go ahead and speak about the program on her behalf. But before I do that, does that anyone have any questions about what I just discussed with Port, the peer coaches, the police department's peer program, any of that sort?
Is your peer program also working up in for the northern two counties, or are you looking to build that in the northern two counties?
Well, if you're talking about ours has been around for a while. So when I say ours, I'm referring to the SOAR funded program that houses peers in the jails. So
Okay,
every jail is going to have a peer specialist that represents a
gotcha,
broad region. So for
gotcha.
my region, it's going to be northern. So it's going to be, well, my jail in north central. But the idea is that peer would work with jail staff to speak with inmates, especially those that are on the MAT program, but also really any inmate with an addiction problem and who's interested in treatment and is likely to get out. Because not to be rude, there are some inmates that are just they're not likely to get out soon, so we have to triage on the basis of hey, who's likely to get out the quickest. But
Sure.
that all being said, they get with them, and then that peer helps them get into treatment, or whatever. And then they'll forward that information to the attorney, and then the attorney does what they have to do. That way, it's not just one bewildered attorney trying to do everything all at once, and it's not an inmate's family playing phone tag. That we have professionals that can actually accomplish that task. So,
Excellent news. Thank you. That's
no,
great news.
yeah, I mean, I've been really lucky. Mr. Childers has been a really great replacement for Mr. Bator. For those that don't know, Mr. Bator retired, so he's probably just sitting at home being very cozy right now, and I'm very jealous. I know he definitely went fishing over the summer. He told me about it. He had to be a brat, but I do miss him. He was a great guy to work with. But his replacement, Mr. Childers, has been doing some excellent work, and he's also working on establishing a program that is trying to figure out how to build better retention rates for jail inmates who are receiving services and treatment. I think he calls it Project North. And I've been part of his consortium meetings on that as well. So my game plan is also have Mr. Childers, do one of these meets as well. Um, once we get everything settled in, because he's still relatively new to me, but he's really acclimated very quickly, and I'm very happy about it. I'm also waiting again to get our Northwood peer because he's a broad specialist for a region, and then the idea is the SOAR grant funds a peer through a private entity that they work with. In our case, it's Northwood. I think North Central's case, I want to say it's Westbrook Health Services. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. But once Northwood hires a peer, I'll be able to work with them directly, and that peer can come speak with my inmates. And I got Mr. Childers kind of handle the more paperwork, bureaucratic side of the equation. And that also gives me an extra hand on deck. So if I get overwhelmed, I can be like, I can tag a peer coach. I'm like, hey, Mr. Smith or whoever, can you help this person find treatment? I'm swamped right now, and they can help me out if that need should arise. So
Yeah. So it kind of sounds like I mean, because like you're being like proactive before like they go to court or whatever. Because I mean, like down here in Logan, uh, like lawyers will contact me. Hey, could you help this guy get treatment? So he's already involved with the justice system and stuff like that. It sounds like you're trying to get a step ahead of the lawyers and everything. That's actually a pretty good program. I like to see more about it. See what you guys got up there.
yeah, absolutely. I'm going to try to, like I said, get them all on board here for our reach meetings. I've been also working on getting them on our Reentry Alliance meetings, other community meetings. I know Port has monthly meetings now. I was just informed of this actually this morning, and I spoke with their head peer. Her name's Lauren Kotz. I've been working with her for years. I'm very proud of her. I remember when she was a parolee. Now she's out there crushing it, man. She works at the Life Hub. That's for those who don't know. That's one of the few homeless shelters we have in this region. It's in the Wheeling area, and they've been doing some really great work. Um, And I've been working with the peer specialist for Marshall County PD as well, Nancy Nine, who actually used to be an employee of ours ages ago. So I already know her and have a good rapport with her. But yeah, to kind of go off what you're saying, I don't want to say we're trying to get ahead of the attorneys because we want to work in tandem with them. Because there are situations where an attorney's like, "Hey, hold on, let's pause here. I'm trying to do something else." Maybe the guy's innocent of the charge, for example, and
Right.
we're saying, "Hey, he's going to go to treatment," and that kind of contradicts what the attorney's saying. But yeah, I mean, that's the idea. The big thing I want is when we catch them, because we have a lot of money and effort as far as I'm concerned, and I'm just riffing here, so bear with me. But I think our state definitely focuses heavily on interdiction, and that's a very important part of reentry. No questions asked there. But also, I think we need some preventative care. But at least for me, obviously, I work in a jail, so interdiction is where it's at. So to have peers and to have these people that work with the courts, work with the police departments, that helps because they know to reach out to me, and then I know who I can help, and then I can forward information to them. They can forward it to the right people, and everyone's communicating as opposed to one person's doing this and no one knows what's going on. Um, but again, all of these are really new. This is fresh, so I'm hoping we don't lose acceleration. Because I know, the federal government, especially, funding has been, kind of hodgepodge. It's been kind of up in the air. But as far as I can tell, these programs are relatively safe and they are building. And again, we really want to build that rapport with the courts and law enforcement because they're meeting the hardest luck cases, and those are the people who need our help the most, uh, in my estimation.
You mentioned SOAR. What is that?
State opioid response. It's a federal grant. So essentially, just kind of like name implies, it's meant to kind of fund an opioid response. So for us in the jail system, this grant's actually been going on just around the same time I started my position 5 years ago. And the grant, what's supposed to do is it's supposed to fund a peer specialist who kind of oversees a broad region of the state, and then you have a peer coach at a lower level that represents a specific jail. So for me, Mr. Childers is my specialist who represents my region of the state, the northern half, and then whoever Northwood hires would be the peer that would work with most directly. So the idea is that when possible, especially for those inmates who are on our MAT program, so they're doing a Suboxone or the Vivitrol shot, these are the people we're referring to those peers because they can do the government performance reviews as part of that grant. And we're also making sure this person's getting connected with an MAT, an outpatient provider when they leave, at a minimum, hopefully more, but that's going to be contingent on the client and the courts and other factors. But I also work with other peers too. Um, Obviously, I want to work with Mr. Childers and whoever Northwood hires as my primary set because that covers our grant and that's what I'm here to do. But having other peers that reach out to me, that's the difference, Jonathan. Because normally I have to reach out to the peers and then they help get services. But if I have a peer in the community who reaches out to me proactively, goes, "Hey, I was working with Mr. Smith. I'm pretty sure he got arrested last week. I want to help him out. What can we do?" That's huge because now we already have the connections already built, and I'm saving a lot of time, and I'm being told right from the go who's actually interested in treatment as opposed to someone who's just trying to do this or that to satisfy a court requirement. And not there's anything wrong with that, but ideally we're getting the people that are going to actually put forth the effort. And if we have a peer that already has a connection with a person here in a jail, they already have that rapport, I'm going to be way more effective in convincing them to go to treatment if they're able to speak with someone that they know and trust.
Hey Ken, this is Jen with Northwood. I wanted to let you know that they hired somebody today for that
Oh,
position, and I believe they should be starting next week.
wonderful. Excellent. That's great news. Yeah, I think, is it Mrs. Harper? I think that Tina Harper.
Yes, yes.
Okay, yeah. So I know she oversees that program. So once that peer is acclimated, just have Mrs. Harper reach out to me and Mr. Childers, and we'll do the same process we did with the previous peer and kind of go from there. Um, it will take a little while to get her training module done here because I don't have a training officer right now. So things are a little bit hectic, but it will get done. It'll just take a little bit of time.
Okay, I'll let them know. Thank you.
Thanks, Jen. I appreciate that. That's good news. All right. Does anyone have any other questions about the peer programs I mentioned? And if not, I'll go ahead and start talking about the Hope Care Ministries program briefly. Okay, so the Hope Care Ministries program, some of you guys probably already familiar with them because they did present last year. I wanted to go ahead and give an opportunity to present again this year because they have a new intake coordinator, an outreach specialist, and they have changed some things about their program. I'm just going to go over the very broad details because I don't work with them, so I don't want to misrepresent them or anything. And I don't have their business card in front of me right now. I have to kind of hide out in this warehouse office because it's the one place with a good internet connection so I can make this work. So I'm not in my office right now. But if you guys have my contact information, I see everyone's already put their information in the chat log. So appreciate that. So if anyone has any questions about Hope Ministries, reach out to me via email. I'll forward you Miss Anna Hester's information, and she'll gladly respond. I'm assuming she's having technical difficulties because she's usually on top of it. She usually answers my emails like that. So I'm assuming she's having a computer issue. So Hope Center Ministries is a year-long faith-based transitional housing program, and they have a male facility and a female facility, and they're based out of Blair, Ohio. Now they are working towards renovating their Wheeling location, and once that Wheeling location is finished renovating, that will be where the men will have their program. They have, from our understanding, a 3-phase program. The first phase is roughly 1 month in length. It's orientation, typical stuff you expect in a transitional housing program. Hey, we're helping you get your identification documents. We're making sure you're stable. We're going to make sure your Medicaid's active, all that stuff. When I get to phase 2, that's when they enter a vocational program. So I know they've been working hard on building relationships with local employers, especially ones in the Triadelphia Highlands area, but as well as other surrounding locations. And they have programs that can actually help bus their clients from the Hope Center Ministries location to their place of employment and back again. And the program is a year in length. It is a year-long commitment. And they recently received a grant. So for now, at least, I think their first 15 admissions, I don't know how many they've already cut through, are going to be free. Typically speaking, to get into the program, it costs $750, but that covers a whole year. That's it. It's a one-time cost. So $750 for an entire year of having a roof over your head, food, clothing, and shelter, that's not bad. And they, since they're a church organization, they work with a lot of local faith-based, initiatives and community services. If we have a person who's really down and out, maybe they're homeless, they don't have $750 to front. I know in the past they've worked out situations where they can either get the money donated to them from a church initiative, or they can make it where, okay, we'll put this on hold, and then when you start working, you can start paying it off slowly over time. They're willing to work with their clients. Beyond that, I don't want to go into too much detail because I've toured their facility before. I've worked with their people. They seem like decent folks, and they do have a national presence. They have locations in Tennessee, Kentucky, Pennsylvania, a few other places in the country. I think they have some locations in New York as well. So they have a reputation. They've been around for a while, but in terms of the actual particulars of the program, that'd be something best for Ms. Hester to explain. So, but I know with housing options here, if there's one thing I've been complaining about, you guys know this, the Northern Panhandle we have a great MAT services, outpatient care. Mental health services aren't terrible. I mean, relatively speaking to what you see in the rest of the state and the rest of the country, they're not adequate, but we at least have them, which makes us better than a lot of other places. But in terms of actual inpatient programs and housing programs, we are in desperate need. So anything that can help cover that base, has my support. Does anyone have any questions about the program? Just basic stuff. All right then. So what I'll do is, again, if you guys have any question about the program, or you have someone who's interested in trying to get to housing or whatever, and especially if they prefer a faith-based approach, actually, I can't answer that. I mean, that's probably a good point. It's non-denominational. It's just generically Christian, for lack of a better term. So you don't have to be a Catholic or a Lutheran or whatever. You don't even have to be Christian. They'll accept anyone as long as they're willing to do the programming. So if they're not a person of faith, but they have an open mind, the program can still be open to them. Um, that being said, for anyone who's interested in learning more, reach out to me via email. I'll forward you Mrs. Hester's information, and she'll get back to you guys. She's usually pretty good about responding to emails and phone calls. So I'm assuming she's having some computer issues because she's usually on top of it. All right. Does anyone have any questions for me before we log off here?
Hey Ken, it's Jen again. Sorry, I do have just one more announcement.
Yeah, go ahead.
Northwood just recently opened an MAT clinic in Moundsville at their Ash Avenue location. It's going to be held on Tuesdays in the afternoon, and they will provide transportation to and from.
Yes.
You can walk in for an appointment for an intake on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And then they're going to offer the Suboxone, the Sublocade, and Brixadi.
Okay, good. So the Brixadi is starting to kind of come through. That's great.
Yes.
That's the one that's the once weekly shot, I think.
Yeah, I think it can go up to 30 days, but the benefit is you can do weekly.
Yeah, I'm really hoping the shots kind of start becoming the new normal because they're harder to. I mean, I hate saying it again. I work in the jail, so bear with me, but the shots are much harder to abuse. so,
Right.
so I like that, and it also encourages people to keep continuing to show up for their appointments. And
Yes.
because when you combine MAT with a long-term program, we have successes. When we divorce MAT from programming, things get off the rails. So I'm really glad to hear that. That's excellent. Actually, that's a good point too. Does anyone have anything they want to announce before we close here today?
In addition to the exciting news for that transitional kind of living place, the Hope Ministries, there's a lot of resources down in Wheeling that the people from the two northern panhandle counties don't necessarily get to. So if at some point we can look at ways to halfway house, sober living facility, that's going to be a good solid one up here, that would be helpful.
No, I agree 1%. And yeah, definitely High County, and to a lesser extent Marshall, kind of gets the lion's share of the resources. I definitely want to see more in Brooke and Hancock. I will say, if it helps you, Carol, there is a program very similar to Hope Ministries in Hancock County. They're called Family Care Ministries, and their
Yeah,
program's 6 months in length. You're familiar?
Yeah, I have heard of it. What I don't know is, are these programs, this Hope Care, this, Family Care Ministries and all that, are they in any way certified? Are they overseen by anyone, or are they just strictly doing their own thing?
So in the case of Hope Center Ministries, they are accredited on a national level. Now, they're not accredited through the WVARR. And I know that's necessary for parole purposes. But again, that also makes sense because in Hope Center Ministries' case, they're technically located in Bel Air, Ohio. So they wouldn't be accredited through a West Virginia apparatus. As for Family Care Ministries, I know they're in the process of getting accredited through WARR. I do not know if they completed that process. I'll be very honest with you. I don't get very many referrals there. And I know this is going to sound silly. Don't laugh at me, but they don't let people smoke there, which kills all my jail inmates, man. Once they hear it, yeah, you can't smoke there, they're out. They don't want nothing to do with it. I hate saying that, but
No,
there it is.
I
But also
understand.
too, it's a 6 month long program, and they make you do the full 6 months before you can go out and work. And most transitional housing programs will usually let you work once you get a few months in, and they're pretty strict with that. But I've had a few people go there, and they seem to like it, but they are very stringent with the religious programming and with how they run their facility. So it takes a certain kind of mentality to, I think, really appreciate it. Whereas in my experience, Hope Center Ministries is a little bit more broad. But the thing with them is they are a year-long commitment. And for a lot of folks, that's too much to ask. So that's kind of the issue I run into, at least on my side of the fence. But
Okay.
yeah. Looks like Mrs. Ayla says, yeah, last time, she's got him on the certified list. So that's good. So now, in terms of if you have any questions about Family Care Ministries, I got their contact info too. Just email me and I'll forward it to you when I get back to the office.
Can you just send it out to everyone?
Yeah, I can send it out to anyone who wants it. I don't have it on me right now though, because I don't have any of my business cards, and I'm analog. I'm like an old person. I got stick-it notes and business cards. That's how I roll. So, and I'm not in my office right now. But if you would just email me, remind me, I will gladly forward that information to anyone who asks. But yeah, I agree. I want to see more for Brooke and Hancock County. I'm hoping that maybe their local police departments adopt a similar program like the Wheeling PD's doing, get the CIT training, get peer coaches on site, and we can go from there, because there are some outpatient programs out your way. Obviously, there's Northwood and Weirton. There's Healthways, Change Inc. But like you said, in terms of housing and inpatient programming, there's not much.
At Lead Airport Center, we also work with parole, probation, drug courts, all of those kinds of things as well.
Gotcha. Good.
Courts. Yeah.
All right. Any other questions or announcements? All right, then we'll go ahead and close. And like I said, I'll try to work on getting some of these peers that we're working through, the SOAR grants and all that, in for the next few months. And if anyone has any questions they have for me, just email me. I'm pretty religious with my emails, and I can answer anything you guys got. And I'm also going to try to make sure some of the more neglected counties like Wetzel and Hancock and Brooke are going to try to get more screen time and reach once we get these peers programs in as well. And we'll go from there, try to kind of spread the word around. All right. So thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.